Now, always when it comes to climate change policies, there is a pretty obvious line here about Australians that while they might want action when it comes to the climate, we're completely aware that even if we did everything, it wouldn't be enough. Remember, John Kerry, the climate czar in the United States, said if they went to a 100% emissions reduction scheme straight away, it still wouldn't be enough. Why? Because, as you know, China, as a developing country, despite the fact that it can land things on Mars and build its own international space station, have an army that builds by the day and threaten countries like Australia on a whim, because it is a developing country, according to its own status that it declares for itself, and geez, isn't it convenient when you can keep so many people in poverty to keep that status, they are able to continue to pollute till 2030. It takes China just 15 days to replace the entirety of Australia's contribution when it comes to greenhouse gases. But politics is what it is, and motherhood statements are generally where the left likes to be with this. But the Lowy Institute came out with some interesting polling that says that Australians may be getting a little bit closer to the question which lefties have never been able to answer. Do you believe in climate change? Yes. Are you willing to pay for action on climate change? No. Apparently, the sentiment about the urgency to do something in climate change is now running at about 60%. It's pretty much where it has been since 2018. But also what's noting here is they ask the question about what's more important to you, getting rid of greenhouse gases, which is the black in the next graph that we have for you. The next colour is keep your electricity affordable. Now, previously, a minority of people believed that there needed to be a reduction in greenhouse gases. That now apparently is a majority. And supposedly, the number of people who believe that affordable energy is not as important as it was just 2 years ago, I don't quite believe this. I think it's a lot of motherhood statements that you end up agreeing with, but when the rubber hits the road, it always fails. Again, the costs of taking further action outweigh the benefits, 24%. 74% of people, of course, the cost of doing nothing is worse than the cost of doing something. Now, that's fine, the motherhood statements, but as soon as you turn around and say, are you willing to pay? Is Yarra Council in Melbourne or the Inner West Council in Sydney willing to put wind farms in the middle of their football fields? Is Zali Steggall planning a series of solar farms on the northern beaches? Of course not. Because that's the difference between the motherhood statement and action. And action has consequences, and quite often those consequences are cost. And as Australians, always have a pretty penny to try to save. We also know that even if we did everything and even if we completely deindustrialised ourselves, it wouldn't actually change the planet. Should we do our bit? Sure. Should we bankrupt ourselves for the amusement of those on Twitter? No.